Welcome, Amakhosi Network. Welcome to the channel. Today we talk about Dance, Malesela, and what he said he wants to cause Kaizer Chiefs, and what I think about this. I'm gonna give my opinions and if I really think it's possible. But yeah, we'll get into that. But before we get there, almost at 2K. Amazing, amazing. Thank you to each and every one of you. You're the most important people. Thank you for sharing and liking the content of the channel. But continue to like and subscribe and comment and join and become a member if you really want to support the channel. But let's get into it. Dance spoke to the SAPC team about Andile Ncube, and yeah, he got on there and then he basically said he wants to coach Kaizer Chiefs. He said basically, who wouldn't want to coach Kaizer Chiefs? Now, a lot of you are going to ask, like, where has Dance been? So, Dance, I believe, he's been everywhere. I just have to be honest. He's been everywhere. He went to Cheaper, and he's been going in and out with Cheaper now and then. Then he went to Royal AM. Royal AM was trying this thing of having three coaches like Sundowns, but it didn't work because at Royal AM there's Andy Lempisani and all of those things. So it kind of makes it just slightly a bit difficult when there's management interference. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm guessing. And then he moved back because he couldn't do the whole co-coaching thing. I think he went back to cheaper. Then yeah, the whole cheaper thing, how it went. And then he stayed unemployed for quite a while. And then no one was asking for his services basically. And then Baroka called him in the NFD and the Mvela League, and Baroka was said to be bottom of the log. Dance coached them for out of the 10 games that Dance has been there, he won 6 games. So now they number 2 on the log, if I remember correctly, behind Obed College. I think it's Obed College. So that is what's happening. And yeah, so my opinion. First, let me start by saying this. Dance is 100 times better than Arthur Zwane. Dance is 100% better than Umolefintseki. When I have to compare him to Kevin Johnson, he's up. His positives to Kevin Johnson is one. What is his positive to Kevin Johnson? Oh, not one, but a few. It's positive to Kevin Johnson. He plays better football. He has actually won a cup. He beat Kaizer Chiefs to a cup when Dance was coaching TS Galaxy, funny enough. And Kevin Johnson has never won a cup, and he has never played the best football, but he's played good football. So that is the plus of having Dance. It's like a question you have to ask yourself. Who do you want? Do you want to have Kevin Johnson or do you want to have Dance? Because that is the kind of like the difficult question you basically have to ask yourself. Dance, the soccer he plays, or Kevin Johnson. At the end of the day, they haven't been the best coaches. They haven't driven coaches to win. They haven't driven their teams to win leagues. They've Dance, I would say he's the one who hasn't coached the best of the best teams. He always gets these low hanging fruit kind of teams, these low, like not the best teams, like Apo Chiba and those kind of things. Kevin Johnson coached Platinum Stars, also a weak team, but then they gave him a chance to coach Super Sport United, which had talented players, because we know Super Sport Vele, they have talented players. And when he went and coached Super Sport, Kevin Johnson flopped. So he flopped big time, and then yeah, he left. And yeah, so that's when you're comparing the two. So you compare Dance and Kevin, and you realize that Kevin Johnson, I think, is losing the battle, the coaching battle, but it's difficult to say, but in a way, Kevin Johnson is losing. So if someone were to say, if Chiefs hired Dance, it wouldn't be a train smash. It wouldn't be the best thing. I wouldn't do it, but I would understand if it was done. Because then you just take Kevin Johnson, you put him back in development because he knows how to develop proper players. Then Dance is there, he will coach the team, etc. That's what happens. That's what could happen then. Yeah. Now my opinion, which is what you've all been waiting for. My opinion is this. Dance reminds me of Sean Bartlett. Sean Bartlett always goes to NFD and does wonders. He takes Golden Arrows promotion. He takes ex Cape Town, now Cape Town Spurs promotion. But then he gets to a PSL, he gets with what you call Cape Town Spurs. He lost like 9 games in a row or 8 games in a row before he got fired. And whenever he just gets in the coaching role, he always like does bad things. Now, why am I saying this to Dent Malesela? When Dent is in the NFD, he does wonders. He took TS Galaxy to beat Kaizer Chiefs while TS Galaxy was in NFD. But then you give him a job in the PSL with more organized teams, more organized players, more organized everything, and he flops. Yeah, that's the biggest thing with that. And another thing that I'm going to add to it is that the PSL for the next season, they're starting a thing where if you hire a local coach, he has to have a CAF A and his assistant must have a CAF B. And then if you're going to hire an international coach, he must have either a UEFA Pro license, CAF A, and he has to, or a CAF A, and he has to have won a title in a top, in the top league. Those are the rules that are gonna come out for the coaching. So because of these rules, I don't think Dan Dance would qualify for it. So in my mind, it won't make sense for Chiefs to invest in a coach who doesn't have qualifications for next season. Why do I say this? If you're going to give someone a 2-year contract or a 3-year contract, and then by the start of next season, PSL will say, but this guy doesn't qualify to coach, then it doesn't help unless he's going to write those exams that are going to come now, the CAF A's, pass them, and yeah, get that CAF A license. So I'm saying this, rather invest in someone who you know will get those licenses or has those licenses. If it's a European coach, a Brazilian coach, invest in someone who has the UEFA Pro license and has already won a cup, because you don't want to find yourself in a position where you invest in the wrong person and then that person will then have to not coach the team or coach the team from the stands because he's not allowed to coach, or what happens to other teams in Europe when they have, like in France, apparently there's a coach who wanted to coach a team in the French league, but he didn't qualify, have the licenses, so his team had to continue paying fines. So it's things like that. So that's my thing. Dan Dens would be a good coach, but I don't think he would be a good coach for Kaizer Chiefs. But I like what football he plays. But I've always had one problem with Dan Dens. Dan Dens has good football from the defense. He has good football in the middle, but he has bad football up front. His teams don't know how to score goals. And that is one thing I've always been critical about with Dan Dens. I remember one time in preseason, we went to play Chippa United in Eastern Cape as Kaizer Chiefs as a preseason game, and then Dan's team, like I remember that time they still had Lane G's and all those guys, and then Dan's team outplayed Kaizer Chiefs. Like Kaizer Chiefs could not touch the ball in that preseason game. Like they outplayed us. Like Chiefs could not touch the ball. But at the end of that game, then Dan's team had like one shot on target with like almost 70 to 80% possession. And then you are like, what was this position doing? Because they were just going defense, midfield, but never getting to the strikers. So that's my one criticism of Dan's, is that he may have good football, but it's not good up front. Last third is still a problem. Unless they get him someone who's going to finish that up, I don't know who could be that person. That's all I have for today. Enjoy your Sunday. Today we don't have comment of the week and we don't have a topic of the week. We'll develop that for next week. So look out for that. Enjoy the rest of your week. It's December, boss. It's December, boss.